Hi, my name's Oliver. I'm the design manager at Liqui Group Limited. We specialise in the design and fit out of offices, restaurants, coffee shops, retail spaces. I wanted to take this time to sort of discuss with you guys office design in the post-COVID world. I work with a design team along with Cameron Fry, the creative director, on many projects around the world. Obviously, COVID has meant that we are rethinking or really thinking about office design. So it'd be nice to share what we've discovered with you all. COVID has meant we're really thinking about offices and how they can be adapted and how they might change in the future. Back in April, we started doing research into how offices might change because of this situation. We use this along with our experience and insight to inform an article to help our clients navigate the challenges they might face when they start bringing people back to work. When we took this article further towards the end, we did something risky. We made a prediction for the future. Now, I read this article a couple of days ago because I wanted to make sure that our prediction hadn't aged terribly over the last 5 months. Now, it is still relatively early days, but we're going to make another risky move. We're going to say that it looks like we might have been right. So in the medium to long term, our article simply prophesies that the office as we know it is not dead. However, there are some changes afoot. But these changes are nothing new. COVID, however, seems to be holding down the fast forward button. First though, before we start discussing predictions for the medium and long term of office design, I wanted to discuss the short term, how we can deal with the situation as it is now. A few months ago, when we shut the door on our offices and workplaces before setting up shop at home, we closed that door on spaces that are probably open plan, designed to be high density. Now, it goes without saying that in the post-COVID world, this now leaves us with a problem. Workplaces were never designed to fight against the spread of disease. We have to retrofit what we have based on a common sense approach. We believe it needs to tackle three main areas: density, design, and behaviour. So firstly, let's talk about density. So we need to look at the office space. For the majority of organisations, they'll be looking at getting things going in partial capacity, bringing back employees in waves or in shifts patterns. Now, research suggests organisations will be limiting their return to around 30% staff capacity. Now, this allows for social distancing to become a practical reality in office spaces. So going forward, things need to be flexible, more on that later. But for now, with fewer staff entering the workplace during this initial wave, workstations need to be kept further apart. Removing chairs, spreading people at 6 feet distances is essential. Automation for desk booking might be important to help with the reduction in usable desk space. Sensors under desks or mounted into ceilings could be key in preventing people travelling to work when no desk is available. In communal areas, furniture, unless it allows for physical distancing, should be marked for single use. Seating should be spaced 2 metres apart or 6 feet, and a reduction in soft furniture should be adopted if it cannot be cleaned or disinfected. We also need to look at smaller meetings. Protocols need to be put in place outlining how many people are allowed to occupy an enclosed space, keeping in line with social distancing guidance. Closed spaces like meeting rooms should be clearly signed to instruct how many individuals should occupy a particular area. The room also needs to be configured to support physical distancing. This will naturally result in smaller face-to-face meetings. However, with conferencing technology, this is perhaps not such a problem. We next need to address communal areas. They have to adapt. As previously touched on, soft furniture like sofas should be removed, or their numbers reduced, and all seating should be spread apart based on social distancing guidelines. In addition to this, due to the inherent nature of these areas, hygiene is paramount. Communal spaces need to be cleaned. Tables and lighting need to be wiped down with disinfectant before and after use, and not just by cleaning staff. These are some of the areas of focus that need to be addressed when dealing with density. When it comes to design, there are a few areas we can work to adapt in the short term. Firstly, divisions. Now, adding in screens and dividers is important. It not only serves as a visual reminder throughout the workplace that distancing is fundamental to everyone's well-being, but is absolutely essential when the minimum distancing can't be adhered to for practical reasons. Adding screens in front, behind and to the sides of people will help mitigate the spread of infection. The higher, wider and the easier the screens are to clean, the better. Layout could also be considered. A lot of offices have standard linear approaches to desk layouts. Where possible, it would be advisable to reconfigure freestanding desks so that sitting face to face with a colleague is mitigated against. Rotating desks 90 degrees in different directions would be one way to achieve this. However, this may not be a practical solution in the short term due to power and data point placements, available space, or type of desk systems being used. Spreading people out and adding in screens may prove to be the better retrofit solution. And when it comes to flow and managing building traffic, the retail environment has adopted a number of methods that could be adapted or adopted for office environments. Using visual cues like tape to suggest appropriate distancing between staff members can be utilised to improve distancing measures. One-way traffic should also be adopted. This is especially important in narrow corridors and hallways. Arrows marked out on the floor or walls, for example, would serve as a simple solution to communicate this. Low and no touch will also be inevitably highly important. Automatic doors and lighting, if not already installed, will become the norm. For the moment, however, where these solutions are not yet in place, a common sense approach will need to be adopted. One bottleneck in this area will be elevators, not only because of the confined space, but also the need to push buttons. We will probably see greater voice technology integrated in the future, but for the moment, one solution to reduce risk would be to rely more on stairs. Perhaps floors 1 to 4, for example, can use stairwells, whilst floors 5 and above could use elevators. The final key area of focus is behaviour. Visual cues will be important. Well-designed nudging reminders throughout the office space, communicating social distancing, hand washing, etc. is key. Visual cues like labelling that can be branded and applied to floors and walls, including arrows to direct one-way traffic, are really important. Signage to indicate maximum persons allowed in a confined space like a meeting room will also mitigate against risk. Perhaps one thing that could be adopted to serve as visual cues and help with cultivating the right mindset would be to convert the reception desk. Perhaps this area could become less about checking in and more of a first port of call where people can take off their coat and make use of hand sanitizers before entering the main workspace. Hot desking also needs to be looked at least for the time being. An alternative to this would be to have a single user per day or hotelling. This would need to be backed up by a clean on arrival and clean on departure policy, reinforced through visual cues. Cleaning, going forward, needs to be made highly visible. Employees need to feel secure in the fact that they can see areas being cleaned multiple times a day. This also translates into hand sanitizing stations and cleaning supplies being readily available. This promotes a culture of personal hygiene cultivated through visual cues and the availability of cleaning products. Desks being clear from clutter may also need to be adopted as another cultural shift, as it allows for easy cleaning. The wearing of masks being integrated into company culture could also become the norm. They can be used when people attend face-to-face meetings, have conversations, or move throughout the office. These are some of the ways existing office infrastructure can be made to better serve users in the present as well as the near future. Other areas of company policy might need to be rethought, such as company policy on toilets, single occupancy for example. The immediate challenge, however, requires a common sense approach that makes use of what we can adapt now. Our expertise is design, and we believe this is one of the best tools we have to change behaviour and reduce the risk of transmission and improve people's mental health and well-being. So what does the medium to long term hold for the future of office design? We believe, and to be honest it seems most people are also with us on this, the office is not going to be consigned to the history books with everyone working from home. The simple truth is that remaining competitive and growing as an organisation is rooted in communication, teamwork and a culture that nurtures progress. This is very difficult to cultivate when everybody is occupying different rooms in different buildings in different cities and towns. Companies and organisations need a space where they can come together as a team and work coherently. This has already been cited by firms like JP Morgan. It's the ability to bring people together, align priorities and be productive. This is exactly the reason why we don't believe we're entering a new age of permanent home working. Offices are most definitely here to stay. This is a good thing for us as we really like designing them. This all said though, over the last decade we have seen an increase in home working, and we're also seeing an increase in more flexible working. Employees working in the office a few days out of the week with less of a 9 to 5 approach. This is down to numerous reasons that I don't think we need to go into too much detail here about, but it would appear that if COVID is changing anything, it's speeding up certain changes that were perhaps going to take maybe a decade or so to fully develop and run its course. Now, take online retail for example. Over the last 10 to 20 years, the internet has revolutionized many things, how we shop for goods being one of them. Companies like Amazon have filled our ever-increasing need for convenience and service. This change started slow and has continued building momentum at a huge rate, yet COVID has still managed to push this evolution into overdrive. It has caused people who were perhaps more reluctant to adopt this new behaviour of online shopping to make this change. Many perhaps will never switch back, having discovered certain benefits. The way we work may also be experiencing a similar effect. Changes that were naturally occurring may now be on the fast track. So then, if this is the case, what has been put on the fast track as far as office design is concerned? Well, naturally, an increase in home working has certainly occurred. People seem to like it, but at least some aspects of it. We're seeing a train of thought prevail where organisations and employees are expressing interest adopting part-time office working and part-time home working, a more flexible approach. Beyond this though, there is something more fundamental going on that we believe COVID is accelerating, and this is wellness in the workplace. We've been a big advocate of this movement. We've written articles and designed offices in line with its ethos. Put simply, wellness in the workplace puts the human component at its centre. Take care of the individual and the organisation will flourish. It's simple logic that may have been neglected a bit in the past. With COVID, health and well-being have been pushed to the centre of our collective consciousness. There is now extra incentive and momentum to improve wellness in the workplace. So what does this actually mean in real terms? What real-world design solutions are we actually being asked to provide for our clients in this post-COVID world of work? Well, organisations want a flexible working environment. Flexible in terms of who can be in the office at any one time, and flexible in terms of different working breakout environments. They want it to be flexible for their workforce now and adaptable and flexible when COVID crisis comes to an end. There seems to be a real appetite to make the working environment a more human-centric place. COVID has and will cause staff numbers in the office at any one time to be reduced as a defence against the spread. Employees may work from home for some time during the week and come into the office at pre-organised times at other parts of the week. Offices appears to be taking the form of a hub, a space for collaborative working, a place to hold meetings and focus in on those more teamwork-centric projects. So in the medium term, as having all members of the staff back in the office at the same time might prove impractical, at least for the moment, the hub approach seems to be proving very popular. It may be in the long term that some organisations decide to change the way that they operate, opting towards this more collaborative hub for their office environment, where employees carry out their more solitary roles and tasks from home and come into the office for their more team-centric collaborative roles. It may also be that other organisations may take the opportunity just to reimagine how their office environment best suits their people, also opting towards this more flexible working environment. It's becoming clear that the flexible working environment performing as a collaborative hub, which has been growing for a number of years as part of the workplace wellness approach, is being accelerated. Now, we didn't come up with this phrase, but we do like it. The office may be becoming a coffees, coffee shop and office. Clever. Basically, there are three types of spaces: your home, your place of work, and the third space, a coffee shop. Not quite your home, but with a similar welcoming and relaxing feel. Not quite your place of work, although sitting down enjoying a coffee while sending a few emails and discussing topics of importance is not uncommon. Now, over the years, we've seen this divide between the office and this third place become more blurred. We think this should be embraced. But then we would say that as we design some of the largest and most creative coffee shops in the world, and we also design offices, so it does play into our hands a bit. But it does make sense. Who wants to work in a sterile, fluorescent lit, rigid environment? I mean, if we like those places, much of our homes, restaurants, coffee shops and bars would look the same, but they don't. Because of changes spurred on by COVID, we believe we will see workplaces focus on a flexible working environment with more of a coffee shop feel, a greater focus on the importance of well-being, and an aim to encourage productivity, creativity, attract talent and improve staff retention, a place where people want to go and want to be. In the past, conventional workplace wisdom has promoted a static office environment, with employees tethered to their desks. This increasingly is no longer an accepted practice. Progressively minded employers and employees prefer to think of the workspace or the workplace as an adaptable, dynamic and fresh place to be, one that promotes personal health and wellness. This trait, or this train of thought, has been growing for a number of years. COVID looks like it could be the tipping point for progress in this area. Across the world, millions and millions of working days are lost due to sickness. Among those reasons cited are mental health issues, including stress, depression and anxiety. Stress and mental health are among the most common causes of both short-term and long-term workplace absenteeism. The strain of COVID has impacted many of us and may be compounding this issue. Our physical surroundings affect our mental health and wellness. When designing office spaces, we understand that wellness should be at the core of each and every design. It seems that COVID has helped cement this approach into many people's minds. The approach we see forming in the long term is to simply encourage a better state of physical, mental and social well-being for employees. The ROI for this is bolstering staff retention, productivity, creativity and happiness levels. So if workplaces are going to become more of a hub, a office, a space for collaborative working rather than a place for individuals to sit at their respective desks and carry out the tasks in relative isolation, then variety in workplace design is key. The more hub-focused working environment should accommodate an array of working preferences and furnishings and provide a choice of work-based settings, including small desks for solo working, larger tables for team projects, breakout spaces for informal catch-ups, private spaces for formal meetings, places for virtual meetings, quiet places for concentration, and lounge areas to enjoy a coffee and have a chat. People can move around, choosing to work in the space ideally suited to their needs, with hot desking to accommodate employees who have come in for the day for meetings and collaborative work. They maybe just need somewhere to sit and send a few emails and get a few other quick tasks completed. In a post-COVID office environment, perhaps the fixed desk is no longer the focal point. In its place is a hub, a office environment that encourages collaboration and conversations across teams. A human-centric space where people want to go and spend time, just like a coffee shop. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss office design in the post-COVID world. My name's Oliver, I'm the design manager at Liqui Group. If you want to get in touch to discuss anything further, please feel free. And thank you.